Assalamualaikum, welcome back to Nakina's Traditional Taste. I hope you're doing great. Today I am making beef ribs, so I thought I'd share my recipe with you. I've got all of my ingredients prepared, ready to go, so let's follow the recipe step by step. In order to make these tasty ribs, I use these following ingredients right here. I've got a barbecue sauce, sriracha sauce, I have granulated garlic, onion, black pepper powder, salt, paprika, and some olive oil. So these two ingredients, sriracha sauce and the barbecue sauce, I am going to mix these two and glaze them on top of the ribs once the ribs are ready. So we don't need these two ingredients until the very end. So I'm going to put these aside for now. And these couple of ingredients that I have, I am going to put them on top of these ribs. So I'm going to sprinkle all of these on top of the ribs. But before I get to that point, you can see that these beef ribs, these are short ribs. I've got them right in front of me right here. So you'll see the top that you see right now. There's a lot of fat. I need to trim some of that fat off. It's too much. So I will leave a thin layer of fat, and you'll be able to see in between there's enough fat that's going to taste make the taste of these ribs. I can't take this fat off because it's sort of marbled in between the meat, but I can definitely trim these top fat off. You'll also notice right in the back, this has a clear membrane that needs to come off. So I'm also going to trim that off before I put any of the spices on. So the spices are here, as you can see, but I am not going to do that until I remove the fat and the membrane. So let's get to that first before I move to the next step. All right, so let's trim some fat off from top. So just a thin layer because you don't need that much. It's already enough that we have, and you'll see it once I trim it off, how it looks. Okay, let me put it on the side. The whole point for this fat is to make the ribs nice and moist, because once it cooks in this fat, it's going to be really nice, and that, it's going to fall off the bone, number one, and it's going to be nice and sticky, that feeling that you get when you touch them. But this is way too much. These were AAA grade ribs, beef ribs, so they're really good quality. And there we go. I think this should be okay now. See that? Let me show you this side. So this is how this looks right now. This is more than enough fat. Now let's flip this around, and I am going to take the clear membrane that I was telling you, because that becomes really hard to eat, and you definitely don't need that. So it's a really, really thin layer, and you have to be very careful so you don't cut extra meat off, right? There you go. See that? This you don't need, so I'm going to trim that off, and I'm going to clean both sides, and then I'll show you before I put the spices on them. All right, so I just finished cleaning these, so I'm going to show you how they look from the front and back. Sorry. There you go. This is how it looks. As you can see, I've removed the membrane from the back on both of these pieces. See that? There is still enough fat on these ribs to cook nicely. Now, next step, what you need to do is, I've got olive oil here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some olive oil, and I am going to massage that olive oil on top of these ribs to make sure that it's nicely, they are nicely covered, and the olive oil is like fully, sort of on top of both sides. So there we go. Let me just do this side. All right. So use your hand, of course, hands to do that. There we go. Okay. Okay, so after the olive oil, now let's sprinkle some salt on top. Okay. There you go. Then some black pepper. Okay, I'm gonna do back and front. So first I'm gonna do the front. This is the onions. So this granulated onion powder or whatever. There you go. So once I'm done one side, I'll show you how much is it there that you see. You'll notice, you probably did notice already, that these are really thick pieces, right? When you go outside to get the beef ribs, they're not as big because they cut them in half and make them into 2 pieces. I am making 2 full racks, so that's a lot, and they are thick. So you need to make sure that you spice them properly, otherwise they'll be sort of plain tasting, and you don't want that. Now this is paprika. And because I put olive oil already, everything that I am sprinkling on top is nicely absorbing. So it's not gonna be coming off. There you go. Okay, there we go. All right, so let me show you the front. This is how the front looks. I'm going to now flip the other side, and I am going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna sprinkle with salt and all that. So okay, so the ribs are nicely spiced, and I put them in a baking dish, and I can show you how it looks. What I'm gonna do is I am going to fold the tin foil on top of them to cover them nicely. Then I'm going to cover them with a lid and bake these, or oven roast them so they cook from top and bottom for at least 2.5 hours before opening and checking to see the progress and see how much longer I need. Usually these 2 racks of ribs that I make, it takes me at least 3.5-4 hours to cook them to perfection. So I am going to check after 2.5 hours to see how much time do I need, and then I'll assess and let you know what I'll be needing. But for now, my aim is going to take at least 3.5 hours to cook these. So let me fold this paper back in and cover it up and put this in the oven. There you go. That's how it looks. Now I'm gonna cover it up with a lid, and this is ready to go in the oven for 2.5 hours before checking it. And obviously I want them to be cooked and stay moist at the same time. So the reason I cover it is for that. If I don't cover this, then the ribs are gonna dry out, right? I want them to stay nice and moist, juicy. So that's why they're covered with the tin foil, and they're covered with the lid, and they will just cook in its own steam. And that, my friends, is the secret to nice, moist, and tender ribs. So let's get to these beauties in the oven, and I'll show you after 2 hours to see how they look. Okay? Okay, so this has been cooking in the oven for 2.5 hours right now. It's almost ready, but I think I will cook it for another hour just to be sure that this is nice and tender from inside, right? It seems like there needs to be a little bit more time. So I'm gonna put this back in until another hour to see how it looks, okay? All right, so the ribs are almost ready. What I'm going to do is, right at the beginning, I told you that these 2 ingredients will be used to make the glaze. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix them together, both the barbecue sauce and sriracha sauce. And before I take the ribs out, I will glaze these two, the mixture of these 2 ingredients, and I am going to broil. Put the ribs on broil for at least a few minutes, because I want the barbecue and the barbecue sauce and the sriracha sauce to create that nice sweet and like sort of a tangy taste on top, like a glaze on top. So that's what I'm looking for. So the mix is ready. I am just waiting for the ribs to be 100% done. I'll take them out put this on top and put them on broil for a few minutes. All right, so ribs are 100% ready. Now the last step would be to glaze them before I take them out. So that's what I am going to do. I'm gonna put the glaze on top. All right, so there you go. So they're nicely glazed with barbecue and sriracha sauce. Now I have turned the oven on to broil, to quickly broil them from top. All right, time to take these out and uncover them. There we go. So they are 100% ready. This is how they look. You can tell that they're nicely cooked. Look at the bone, right? It's almost coming out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them out and cut them in front of you to show you how tender and juicy these ribs are. So let's do that. Okay, so I am going to carve these to show you how tender they are. So take a look at this. I'm literally just touching it and it's falling apart. Look at that. See that? Here. This is really hot, but I'm gonna try to grab this to show you that the bones are actually literally coming out. Look at that. So it's falling apart. These are so nice and juicy from inside that, you know, they didn't dry out at all. Okay. There you go. So they're cooked really, really nicely. Let me take a piece from here. Look at that. See that? They're fully cooked from inside and they're really, really, really juicy. You see that? Okay, let's dish these out now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed today's recipe. Please do remember to subscribe to my channel. Till next time, take care and stay safe.